Hi, I'm Pete Weber, television voice of the Nashville Predators, and this is the Power Play Break, the place we talk about pucks. Don't you forget it.
Back here with Bobby Taylor with the Tampa Bay Lightning. Let's talk about 1971-72. You get the call that everybody dreams of. You're going to the NHL and you're going to play. Who is it against, and what were your emotions like going into that?
You know what? I was really pumped. I mean, you're starting to understand that, if the progression goes right and you play well, that, there's a shot that you might get up there. So when I got the call, we had to go to Chicago. We're playing the Blackhawks in Chicago. Bobby Hull, Stan Mikita, Jimmy Pappen, Pitt Martin, and it was incredible. I mean, I was really.
Who called
pumped.
you to tell you were coming?
Keith Allen called me up.
Yeah.
And said, we're coming up, we're bringing you up because Bruce Gamble had a heart attack that year and he had to leave, he had to quit hockey. So they called me up, and so we're going there, and we get in there, and it's really funny. They go to the restaurant to have something to eat, and of course a couple of Canadian ginger ales. and I'm talking with Eddie Van Imp, and he starts giving me this long lecture about, and by then my nickname was Chief. They gotten away from Doc. I got the Chief in Quebec City. Anyway, he says, Chief, he says the goalie's the real key to this game. He said, if you have a really good team and an average goalie, you're not going to do well. If you have an average team and a really good goalie, you'll go somewhere. So he's going on about how good the goalie is. And I'm thinking, holy crap, I got to play tomorrow. And I'm sitting here having a beer. I better get out of here.
I got to get home and get to bed.
I got to get home and get to bed. So I go home, and we'd never taken even a point out of Chicago at that time. They were so good, and they were so much better than us. So we're in there, and we have a 3-1 lead on Chicago going into the third period. And our guys are pumped. And it's the old Chicago Stadium here where you had to walk
down the stairs to get the locker
room,
rooms, yeah.
And you walk up and everything. Everybody's pumped, and I'm just kind of oblivious. I'm not really. I'm kind of in the zone. I'm having a hell of a game. And then Stan Mikita and Jimmy Pappen. It's still in the record book because you can look it up if you want. They scored 2 goals in 6 seconds.
Oh.
I'm going, damn, I didn't even get set after the first one.
Yeah, you're like, oh my gosh, what happened?
And it's funny because I played golf with Stan, and I told him, I said, you know what, Stash? I says, I'm really upset with you. I says, what? You and that Pappen just absolutely has ruined my whole career. He says, what are you talking about? And I explained it to him. He says, oh my God, was that you that we scored it on? I said, yeah. I said, I'm still in the record birds, and I don't think that one is ever going to get beat. But they scored 2 goals in 6 seconds in the start of the third period, and we ended up tying 3-3. So, but they were happy because we got a tie because we'd never even got that before. But it was something.
Was it special to you? I mean, great place to start your career, Chicago State. I mean, was mom was mom excited you were finally there?
Oh,
yeah. Did mom and dad come or no?
No, they couldn't get there. They could, but it's funny because think about it. If you go back to 12 and 13 when Glenn Hall was my idol, and Chicago was my team growing up, all from a kid. Now I get to play against him. My very first game in the NHL, I was pumped. I was really pumped, and I was flying pretty high, even though I gave up those 2 goals in 6 seconds. Oh, God.
Now your second game, you're going to play Toronto, and what's the outcome there for you?
We had back home, I think. It might have been my first shutout. Or we win 4-1.
3-1.
3-1. That's
3-1 against the Leafs.
Yeah, 3-1 against the Leafs. I can remember that now. And then, after that, it kind of started to sink into me then, Chris. When you play at Chicago, your first one, everything's going so fast and it's so much different, and you kind of get overwhelmed, and you really don't have a chance to really sit and reflect on it. And then now you get a little more relaxed, and you go and you play your second game, and you win. You beat Toronto, and I'm thinking, holy crap, this is really something. And I was pretty pumped. I got to the point there, and I know it was as we got along, it was Dougie Fivala and I were the goalies. They'd already traded Bernie away at that time.
Yeah, he was gone back up to Toronto.
Toronto, yeah. And but then we were fighting it out for the job, Dougie Favell and I tore my hamstring out of the Origin. And I think that was the following year, but and that was it. Then they traded back for Bernie, and I'm dead.
Now, did you keep the puck from that first win?
Yeah, I got it as a plaque. It's Joe Cadillac, who was our PR guy at the time. He really did a nice job. He would get you a nice little wooden plaque, you know, about like this, and mount the puck on there, and say Bobby Taylor's first win, you know, and the score and all that. It was cool. I still got it.
Yeah. Now, your first shutout. Do you remember it?
I'm not sure. I don't know who it was, though. I know I remember they painted the puck white when I got it for a whitewash. But I'm not sure who it was there.
I don't know either. I'm asking
Yeah,
you. I just was
I know.
wondering. We always ask guys here,
Yeah.
what was your first goal like?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
guys it's amazing to recall. Guys
Yeah.
can tell you who was on the ice, who assisted on the goal,
Yeah.
who was the referee, and what the moment was in the game. It's remarkable to see that.
Yeah,
I guess you took too many shots to the head.
Oh, too many. We never. Because you know, when we were playing in Quebec, when I was in Quebec before they moved the team to Richmond, we set a record at the time, Michel Bellemare and I, for 8 shutouts. It was a record at the time, but so it's kind of blending together now. I'm not sure if I had one in the NHL, Chris. I'm not sure if I did.
We'll have to look it up, and
Yeah,
we'll have to come back on the show.
I don't think I did.
We'll have to
Yeah,
send
now
it.
I'll tell you all about it.
Now, Bernie Parent comes back to Philadelphia, and it's 73, 74. Going into that season, you guys had some moderate success along the way, but what changed that year for you?
I think, well, we had a unique group. I mean, obviously, you know, everybody knows us as the Broad Street Bullies, and we fought a lot, but we had a very, very tight group, really closely knit. You never saw a clique. You know, if we were going to dinner, you had 10 guys or 12 guys going. You know, and we always had a rule that when we were on the road, that everybody had to meet for Canadian ginger ale or whatever. If you didn't drink, that's fine, because Gary Dornhofer didn't drink. He'd come for a Coke. But you have to meet for 20 minutes to a half an hour. Then you could go to CPAM. And everybody adhered to it, and it made us really a tight-knit group. And it really started the year before. We played Montreal in the playoffs, and Montreal beat us in 5. We beat them 1 game, and we were young and, you know,
inexperienced.
Inexperienced.
Didn't know what was going on.
Yeah, we didn't really know exactly, but they beat us in 5 games, and they had to work hard to do it. And we all thought, wait a minute, we're pretty good. And we all, to a man, couldn't wait until training camp started, until that, you know, that 73, 74 season. And then that's when we really, it really happened the year before when Montreal beat us out, that we thought we could have a chance to be a really good team.
You had guys like Bobby Clarke, you had Gary Dornhofer on that team, Ed Van Imp, the Watson brothers.
Billy Barber, Reggie Leach,
had,
Ross Lonsbury.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't get any credit for
player.
Credit for that
Ricky
team.
McLeish was probably the most skilled guy we had, and Ross Lonsbury was so good. I mean, there used to be an award handed out, and he was owned by Boston, and we got him from the Bruins, and they handed out the Player of the Year award back then, and Bobby Orr won it. The guy that was runner-up to him was Ross Lonsbury, and he played in Brandon, I think, or Estevan. Brandon, I think it was one of those, because Boston owned both teams, so it was either Brandon, I think it was Brandon, but he was a tremendous player. I mean, back then, Chris, that's, you know, when we played, your checker scored you 25 goals, 30 goals a year.
Your third and fourth line had 20, 25, 30 goal scorers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, they did. And Davey Schultz, you know, our enforcer, he had 20 goals one year. You know, because nobody even wanted to go near him. That's why he had all the time in the world to shoot.
Now, you weren't playing much, but you're there
Yeah.
in the mix. What was it like? I mean, those guys, they seemed like a great group of guys. I mean, they were tough. No one took, you know, you guys, Bill Clement once said that when the visiting bus would turn onto Broad Street, that everyone on the bus from the visiting team would go, oh God, we're here.
Exactly.
Like the panic would set in, like we got to really be on our A game tonight because these guys are ready.
Yeah, and Mickey Redmond would tell me that, and John Davidson, JD would say, you know, we always look to see what happened the game before you guys were playing us. If you guys lost, we thought, oh no, they're going to be really mad.
Yeah.
If you won, they said, oh, they're not going to be as mad. But you know what? It was such a unique experience. And Freddie,
I was going to ask you about Fred
yeah, he
Shero.
was really a unique coach. I mean, the guy was such an innovator, and I couldn't believe it took him forever to get him in the Hall of Fame. He should have been in the Hall of Fame 10, 15 years ago. He was that much of an innovator, you know. And he really believed in playing one goalie, and Bernie wouldn't play in Boston because he came up through there. He would not play. So guess who got to play in Boston all the time? Bobby Orr, Espo, you know, Hodge,
O'Reilly.
Well, O'Reilly wasn't there yet when I played, but Cashman.
Yeah.
And, geez, Johnny Busick. You knew
Here's
he was
another chief.
Oh, yeah, he would be hiding by the net, and then he'd jump out in front, and that big, fat butt of his was about this much. He'd block out the sun. You couldn't see anything. And he'd have Orr shooting on you going, oh, no, please let it hit me or miss the net.
Let me hear the thud behind me.
Yeah,
please.
exactly. But the team, you know what? You always wanted to play. I mean, that was the thing. I mean, I think we were such a team-oriented team that we wanted, you know, everybody did it for the we, not the me, and we wanted to win. And we kind of sacrificed, everybody sacrificed for us to win. But down deep, I think a lot of people didn't realize what a fierce competitor everybody was. And I remember after we won our first cup, and then even the second cup, when I went in and talked to Keith Allen about it, I says, Keith, I says, you know, I can't be sitting down all the time. I got to play or else I'm not going to, my career's going to be over. And he says, well, I'll try and trade you. And, you know, and he says, well, you know, everybody remembers. And I remember Johnny Bauer telling me, he said, oh, yeah, I remember he was a good goalie. And he said, but you haven't played, so they're a little nervous about taking you, you know. And I ended up finally getting traded to Pittsburgh, but
must have been a lot of fun, though. I mean, those guys, I mean, you hear the stories of what the shenanigans would go on. I mean, there's got to be some great things that happen with you guys. I mean, Dave Schultz, I mean, truly, that song he sang, spending his time in the penalty box, I mean, you guys had a razzle about that in the dressing room.
Big time. Yeah, you know what? And I can remember one time, too, you know, and we were very, very adamant about not being big time. You know, don't big time anybody, you know, I mean.
Someone stops you for an autograph or a picture.
Yeah, you make sure you do it. You're not going to blow them off. You know, we made sure. And I remember one time Davey was getting, and rightfully so, I mean, he was getting so much attention and everything. And he was starting to get a little bit hot-shotty. And I remember Ross Lonsbury and I said, come on, you and I, because Davey and I were roommates together in the minors. So we knew each other real well before we got to Philadelphia. And come here. So and we sat down in the middle of the hallway in our hotel room. I forget what city we were in. And we started saying, listen, Davey, you're starting to get a little too carried away. You got to remember, it's not just you, it's the whole team. You can't be bad-mouthing fans. You can't be mean to fans. You can't blow them off. You know, and Davey was trying to protesting, but after a while, you know, and that's what was the beauty of it, was the fact that he would sit and listen to you. And that was the same thing. I mean, I think that was part of Freddie's strategy as well. He never disciplined a player, never. He'd have the captains do it.
Interesting.
He would call in Clarke, he'd call in Van Imp and Joe Watson and Barry Ashby when he was still playing. And he'd say, listen, you know, Bobby Taylor, you know, Taylor's not playing really well. I mean, what is he, out burning the candle at both ends, or what is it? You know, you see what the heck's going on with him. Then you'd have all your teammates coming over to you. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Well, that mean a hell of a more than a coach coming to you.
The coach usually goes in one ear, out the other.
Yeah.
But your teammate, you got to face up
You
to
listen,
them.
boy, because you see them all the time. So I think that was part of it when guys were very susceptible, or very open, I should say, to criticism from your teammates. It never created a rift. It never created a barrier. It was always in the betterment, and guys accepted it. And I think that was a big part of our success.
What was it like to watch Schultz go from the bench?
Ooh, you couldn't hurt him.
No.
That was the most amazing thing to us. We've seen him take 2 or 3 shots, and it would be like, oh, okay, now I'm into it.
Yeah.
You know, you couldn't cut him. I don't know. I think he had that old Knight's male armor that they had on the skin. I mean, Davey was unbelievable. And we had a coach when we were playing the minors together, Eddie Shore, an old-time hockey coach. He coached Hamilton Juniors for a long time. He used to tell Schultz, soak your hands in pickle brine and make them tough and everything. He said, Schultz, he would. He smelled like Arthur Treacher's half the time, but he had tough hands.
Oh, my God. No, leadership is big on a team.
Yeah.
Bobby Clarke seemed to have it from day one. Describe his leadership style. I mean, he was truly, when you look back in the annals of captains in the NHL, there's maybe a handful of guys, if that, who led like he did.
He was amazing. I mean, first of all, he was an unbelievable player. And his work ethic, I mean, there was nobody that worked harder than him, nobody. I'll point out a time, and I remember we're playing Buffalo in the finals, and and I wasn't dressed that time. Wayne Stevenson got dressed that time. So we were having a good time, and we really had it easy with Buffalo. I shouldn't say easy because no games are easy, but we'd beaten Buffalo most all the time that we're playing there. So we won the first 2 games in Philly. We come back to Buffalo, and guys were just ki-eyeing, thinking we had it in the bag. They beat us 2 games. Now it's 4-4. After the 4th game, we're all sat in certain areas. So I'm sitting like I was like the 4th row from the back, and he waits till everybody's on the bus. Now Clarke and I are tight. You know, he's the godfather to my son, and he gets on the bus, and he's staring at me all the way back. And I'm going, oh no, I'm in trouble. I didn't even play, didn't even dress, but we were kind of jacking around in the dressing room. He stands over me and he yells, and he says, what do you think you're doing? You think this is a big party? You know, this is the Stanley Cup Finals. You think we got this wrapped up? Up. He's going on. I'm sneaking down the chair like this. I go, I know what you're doing. I know what you're doing, but okay, that's enough. And you could hear a pin drop in that bus, because the guys are thinking, boy, if he's going to get on Chief like that, I do not want him to get on me. We went out and won the next 2 games. But and it wasn't easy, but we won the next 2 games. We really bore down. But he knew what to do. He actually was chastising everybody on the team through me. And he knew that I was smart enough to figure that out. You know, some guys would probably say, why are you picking on me? I never even played. Well, I understood what he was doing, but boy, did he ever. I've never had an undressing like that in my life.
Now, you win those 2 cups. That has to be, for you, just so exciting. Here you are, you win the 2 cups. What did Mom say when you won the 2 cups?
My older brother made a lot of money off on the bets, I'll tell you that, because nobody expected us to beat Boston. But she was pumped. She was so proud, and everything was Philadelphia Flyer too, all over the place. And it was really hard. People ask you, what does it feel like? And it was very hard to put into words what it was like. And I remember, I'm a big reader. I love to read. And I read Bill Bradley's book, Life on the Run, when the Knicks won it. And I was reading it, and he put it really well, I thought. He said, and I'm paraphrasing, but he said something to the fact that, when you win this championship, and you think back to when you're a kid, all the birthday parties you missed, all the high school dances that you didn't go to on a Friday night, all the senior proms, or all the Christmases and the New Year's that you had to be on the road, or you were playing in some small little town in Georgia or something like that. Everything that you missed throughout your whole life of what everybody looks for and what everybody builds their memories on, and you win the championship, it's all worth it. And I said, boy, that's right on the money. Because, back then, and I think some kids still do, I left home at 15. I went away to play hockey at 15. I went from Calgary to Edmonton and then all the way down to St. Catharines. And so, you grow up in a real hurry when you're playing hockey, or you did back then. And so, to me, winning those cups is everything. I'd never sell my rings. I'd be living underneath an overpass with a shopping cart. I'd have my Stanley Cup rings on.
We'll have more with Bobby Taylor after this.
Liar's penalty on number 8, Dave Schultz. 2 minutes for hooking, 2 minutes for roughing, 5 minutes for fighting, and a 10-minute misconduct.
Baby, how long will you keep me in the penalty box? Baby, I'm wrong, but it's lonely in the penalty box. I know I broke the rules, but rules are broken by fools. Baby, how long will you keep me in the penalty box? Love is like an ice hockey game. Sometimes it can be rough. Girl, you got me so all aflame, I never get enough. You got me charging and cooking, holding and hooking, and then you blow the whistle on me. When you gonna let me go free? Don't you know how slow go the penalty clocks with their tickety-tocks in the penalty box?